I'm Kitty.
And I'm Max.
And this is Dango Duo!
And welcome to our review of the American adaptation of the anime Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, obviously. Listen.
This is going to be a little different.
It's going to be a little weird.
We wanted to talk about this because we watched, well, I rewatched.
I rewatched too.
I wanted to revisit this movie. By the way, the sound you're hearing in the background is the chinchillas. We wanted to revisit the movie Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Is that what it is?
We rewatched it. I watched it when it came out.
I watched it probably a year or two after it came out.
And we have our feelings.
Our revisited feelings.
So, you know what? Let's just dive right in.
Oh.
Kitty, what is Scott Pilgrim versus the World all about?
Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is a 2010 action comedy film based on the graphic novel series Scott Pilgrim by Brian Lee O'Malley. It stars Michael Cera as Scott Pilgrim, a slacker musician who must battle the 7 evil exes of his newest girlfriend, Ramona Flowers.
As Kitty mentioned, this is based on a comic book series titled Scott Pilgrim. And although it is not Japanese of origin, this is deeply, deeply drenched in anime and video game humor and culture. Or at least video game culture from around 2004 when the original comic first came out.
Now, generally, I know I go first in the good segment, but we're going to kick it off with Max first. What did you like the most about Scott Pilgrim vs. the World?
Well, I wanted to go first because I feel like I wanted to establish why we're talking about this movie to begin with. And there is such an amazing bombastic element in this movie. And I remember watching it. I watched it on a whim. My brother and my sister were gonna go see it in the theaters, and I was like, I don't know, I haven't heard of this. I watched the trailer and I thought, yeah, I'll go see it.
Why not?
And I loved the bombasticness, the visuals, and when I came home, I actually bought the soundtrack. The soundtrack is actually composed by the musician Beck. And there was a lot of craft to the visuals and the music. And that spoke to me because it reminded me a lot of anime. It's very crazy, and there's an element of magical realism where weird things happen but no one really explains them, and some people go, wait a minute, why did that person do that? Why are there hipster demon chicks?
But don't worry about it.
But don't worry about it. The movie doesn't explain it, and I don't think the comic book does either.
I think it's just,
It's just supposed to be weird, and sometimes, that works. And when it works, it's usually an anime where it's so weird and bizarre that you just kind of go along with it.
You just shrug your shoulders and you're like, alright, that's the world we're in.
And it was that anime strangeness that spoke to me and that I, in a way, was nostalgic for, and I kind of wanted to experience again. And if I had to give a plus to the movie, it's the visuals and the music, especially the visuals, because I haven't seen anything that does stuff like this.
It's so unique in its style, which is a shame for the reasons we'll talk about later.
In a second. But first, before we do that, Kitty, what did you like the most about Scott Pilgrim versus the World?
I had a hard time with this, but I think the fact, we talked about this off camera, but I think the fact that it brings up this discussion is worth it being a positive in some capacity. The character of Ramona Flowers, who is the one with her 7 evil exes, reminds me a lot of a woman who has been abused in relationships and has been, going back and forth from relationships, trying to, find someone that really cares about her and really values her as a person rather than, I don't know, let's be blunt, a vagina. And I appreciate that in her character. Unfortunately, the movie does everything it can to undermine that.
Yeah.
But in a better story, I think Ramona Flowers could be a very good character. She's a alright character in this movie. The movie just treats her really badly, so it's...
There is, I guess the only way I can describe it is it feels very unfair and weighed against her. Like, the movie tries its best to undermine Ramona. And,
Every step of the way.
And even though it makes the very much clear reference to her being abused, a plot point for the climax, it really it kind of just gets hand-waved.
It's like, well, we don't want to talk about that.
We don't want to talk about it, but we want you to just know that we talked about it. And in the reality, really, I feel that I don't think someone actively wanted to talk about it, but they thought it was a clever way to arrange the plot elements so that it would build up to this. But I agree with you. It's not a good positive. Listen, this is
me scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Usually it's music and visuals, and I took that this week.
Yeah.
But I can see how someone can look at this movie and go, I want to do a better version of this. And that right there, that little potential, that little nugget of inspiration that someone could draw from and create something even more meaningful and amazing, that right there,
that's the good shit.
That's the good shit. That's the good shit.
And I want that from this, but
this movie is by no means perfect.
Let's talk about that.
Hey, Kitty.
Hello.
What did you dislike the most about Scott Pilgrim versus the World?
Everything. That's not true.
That's not true.
Most everything. No, the thing I'm going to talk about is primarily Scott, but also especially focus on his relationship with his girlfriend at the start of the movie, Knives Chow.
Who?
Let's never forget, is 17. She's underage. Also, he's like 20-something. That's
not gross at all.
That's disgusting.
By the way, I know that I'm already breaking in. I just want to remind you, her character trait, her central character trait is that she's underage. She literally has like nothing else going for her other than she is underage.
Now, if that ain't an
a red flag.
No, an analog for anime. I don't know what it is.
Okay, that's fair.
But first of all, Scott as a character, and I think a lot of this is, not all of it, a lot of it is the script, but a lot of it is also the fact that it's Michael Cera as Scott Pilgrim, who, in all other movies I've seen him in, because I haven't seen Batman vs. Superman, but I'm assuming it's about the same, he's like a loser. And even though...
He's in Batman vs. Superman?
Yeah, isn't Michael Cera fucking Lex Luthor?
No, you're thinking of the guy from Mark, the guy who plays Max Zuckerberg.
Aren't they all Michael Cera?
Okay, truth be told. Okay, remind me to do a Photoshop. Kitty Michael Cera wasn't in Superman.
Same guy. No, we're keeping this all in. You don't even need to add a marker.
Okay. I can do a Photoshop if you want.
We'll just swap. I'll just put them together and then
put them next to each other
and then we'll just converge them into your Photoshop. There we go. Anyway, it's not Michael Cera.
It's not Michael Cera. Jesus fuck.
Aren't they the same person?
They're not.
Okay. Apparently, I don't know who Michael Cera is because I was like, yeah, he's the guy in the Facebook movie too.
No, Jesus Christ. Michael Cera is better known for his role in Arrested Development, where he played a guy who wanted to date his cousin.
Which one is the one in Napoleon Dynamite?
That's another guy.
Oh, God.
Don't worry, he didn't do much else after that.
Oh, my God. They're all the same guy in my brain. Oh, my God. Anyway,
what?
Apparently, Michael Cera is like too many things at once.
Okay, what if I just put that guy on the cover for this review, even though it's Scott Pilgrim?
Okay, so Michael Cera wasn't in Batman vs. Superman.
God, drop it.
But he's a loser. And in every movie I've seen of maybe him, he's a loser. Apparently I don't know anything about movies, which is why we're an anime channel, let's be real. But I think a lot of Scott's problems, other than the writing, is his portrayal as this big old fucking loser. And like a pathetic loser. He's not even like he's working hard and he'll get there eventually. He's like pathetic and revels in it. He like sleeps on the floor. Him and his roommate only have one bed, and so they have to make fun of the fact that his roommate is gay and they sleep in the same bed. The only like funny bit that comes out of it is like, another guy is also in the bed at one point, and it's kind of funny, but like still, he's just this loser who doesn't deserve any of the things that the movie gives him.
And that hands to him.
Yeah, literally is like, okay, first of all, he has this amazing girlfriend at the start, Knives, who is like very sweet, interested in his music, which is garbage, and is just like this honest, good girl, let's be real, she's a girl because she's underage. And he decides, fuck it, I'm gonna cheat on her with this new, hotter, weird girl who's got some battle scars, dude.
She's got some battle scars, dude.
And right from the first, 20 minutes when he decides, fuck my old girlfriend, I want this girl, you just immediately fucking hate him. And that is not entirely due to Michael Cera, that's the script.
And it's a little weird when the audience is not really cheering for the main character. And sorry for just jumping off here, but I want to just clarify that like the character of Scott Pilgrim, like I don't know what actor could have actually portrayed this character as anything other than a piece of shit. Cuz he is not relatable, and he wasn't relatable in 2010. And the worst thing is that I could see how guys that I knew who were that kind of guy, or let me say, nice guys. They were nice guys. Looked at Scott Pilgrim and went, "Oh my god, I love this movie." Oh, it just speaks to me how
Hashtag not all men.
Hashtag not all men. It just speaks to me how he got 2 girls without having to do anything, and
while being a total asshole.
And he didn't have to change that.
And he didn't have to change. He didn't have to change. Let's be real.
Sorry, I just thought about the Batman movie again.
It's the same thing.
Kitty, okay, what if I you overlay the 3 images?
Yeah, there we go.
And then you start fading them out so you realize they all have the exact same face.
It's true.
Anyhow.
Anyway.
Kitty, is there anything else you want to say about Scott and Knives other than it's gross?
It's gross. I hate it. Why? And
there's a lot of stuff in this movie that we don't have the time to cover. Just really quickly, queer representation in this movie is horrible and it's used as a joke. And honestly, the character of Wallace, even though he is a gay character in the story, his whole purpose is just to be that gay friend and just to be a source of jokes. He is no different than having a black friend who's just in the corner doing stereotypical black things for the sake of having a funny character in the background. Wallace is just there as a joke. Bag of jokes.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm gay.
Hey, we need a joke.
I'm gonna steal this girl's boyfriend.
It's like, hey, Wallace, we need a joke here. Say something gay.
Pretty much.
It's not good. And then you have the entirety of there's a lesbian character in the story who just kind of gets tossed aside, and we have a whole kind of like it was just a face joke.
We have a huge part of that, and the one thing I'm going to slide in with a slight positive because this is all I can give the movie. The one thing that I do like about that is that throughout the entire movie, Ramona corrects Scott and says evil exes instead of evil ex-boyfriends.
But that's just a clever plot twist of like, oh,
there's a girl. Yeah, no,
you dated a girl, and then she's like
it's not even something I really should give the movie credit for. But I guess back in the day, it was kind of clever.
It was kind of clever.
Yeah. But no, this is the worst. And what did you dislike the most? Let's be real.
I disliked watching it with you because the whole time I was like, oh my god,
what have we done?
I thought jokes would land, and they don't land in this movie. And you can tell this movie's from 2010 because there are some really, really nasty things in this movie. Mm-hmm. Least of which, I mean, it is actually pretty nasty.
That's pretty bad.
We have a transition into the climax that revolves around Ramona Flowers going back to one of her exes. Mm-hmm. And when asked about it, she reveals to Scott that she can't say no to him, and that she finds herself just coming back to him. And she reveals that in the back of her neck there is a device that
some sort of chip
that he implanted on her. And this is clearly supposed to be an allegory for abusive relationships. Mm. She's not actually being mind controlled. And even though I don't think the writing in this movie is particularly good, I can clearly see that's what it's supposed to be.
But the creators didn't want to talk about it.
But the creators didn't want to talk about it, and it's one of those things where, like, I mean, let's be completely honest here. Everything fits into Scott Pilgrim having a cool adventure in this fantasy world. Mm-hmm. There isn't time for Ramona to have an arc. There isn't time for Ramona to matter in this story. And the worst part of everything, and I'm gonna spoil this movie for you because it doesn't matter.
It's 9 years old also. It's fine.
Is Scott... the whole movie made Ramona look cold, questioned Ramona's sexuality, her relationships, and her background. There's a whole part of this movie where Ramona has to sit down and explain why she has dated 7 people in her life, while Scott, who has dated multiple people in the past, just hand waves it and goes, that doesn't matter, it's not about me, it's about you.
It doesn't matter anymore because I'm not dating them anymore.
Yeah. There is a very clear double standard here. Scott doesn't have to explain who he dated in the past, but Ramona has to justify and explain herself and come clean. There's this very notion that she has to come clean, as though she has done something wrong. And even though we joke about the "she's got battle scars, dude" quote, and I've quoted because it's funny and it sounds funny, the reality is that that quote is deeply rooted in the male-centric belief that once a woman has dated a certain number of people, she loses value.
Because her vagina has been used.
Because she is second-hand merchandise. And we have to understand, and I'm sorry that we're about to get really real in a video where Kitty was difficult.
It's difficult remembering who Michael Cera is, it's fine.
Don't worry, a lot of us do.
Oh, it's true.
You have to understand, this was a comic book made by a man. Mm-hmm. And a movie based on that comic book, made for a male audience.
And this is by a man, let's not forget.
This is a movie about a guy who stumbles his ass backwards into 2 girls who are completely out of his league, because gets fame and fortune, and doesn't actually ever do anything. And you may be wondering, what about the video game aesthetics? What about the jokes? You haven't talked about any of those things. They're all very surface to begin with. Mm-hmm. The video game things here feel like
add-ons.
They feel like add-ons, and ultimately, they're all undermined by the story and the fact that, again, the movie undermines Ramona, actively makes her look like a bad person because she wasn't supposed to be the person that Scott ended up with.
Yeah.
The original ending was supposed to be Scott ending alone. That's what the creator wanted.
Well, the original,
because Scott was a fucking asshole. But the movie decided or the directors wanted it to be Knives. That's why Knives is actually portrayed very well in the movie.
And she gets to fight with Scott at the end of the movie.
At the end of the movie. But then, somewhere along the lines, I don't know. Someone decided that the movie that they shot didn't matter, and they just wanted Ramona to end with Scott. Maybe they did one of those showings, and they saw people didn't react well when Scott didn't end up with the girl on the cover.
Yeah. No, he's on the cover. Let's be real. He's only Scott.
He's on the cover.
He's on the movie poster. Have you read that tagline, by the way? We're looking at the Wikipedia page.
The tagline is an epic of epicness. Okay, I'm going to tell you something right now. Nothing has aged worse than the word epic. Every time a real person in the real world, and I know someone who uses the word epic, I die a little bit inside.
It's like gamers.
Like gamers with a capital G.
Yep.
Hey gamers.
Hey gamers.
Hey gamers, here's a movie for you. The gamer gets the girl. I remember people talking about it like that. It's so fucking silly.
Oh god, we haven't even talked about your second, we've talked a little bit about your second point of the changes.
Well, okay, so I just want to say once again, there's a really meaningful thing to talk about with Ramona, and especially the fact that her relationship with Gideon was abusive. Let's just not overlook that.
No, that's why it's my positive for one thing.
Because we have a guy who literally set up a whole network of people to keep her from being into other relationships. It's the core of the movie.
Textbook 101 abusive.
But
that's not the core of this movie.
The worst thing about this movie is that this movie should really have, this story should really have been about Ramona. Mm-hmm. But it's not. And instead it's about Scott. And you can tell it really is about Scott because at the end of the movie, here comes a spoiler, by the way.
It's fine.
It's Scott, because it's a video game, he unlocks the power of love. And the power of love is supposed to be to allow him to defeat. And it's literally a sword, by the way. It's called the power of love. Mm-hmm. And he's supposed to be able to defeat Gideon with it. And Gideon defeats him. And then after, having respawning and a bunch of other video game jokes, he is able to defeat Gideon by unlocking an even better, stronger sword named the power of self-respect. Because, and I quote, love is worthless if you don't have self-respect. Whatever the fuck that means. That's the most guy toxic masculinity thing I've ever heard in my life. Love is worthless if you don't have self-respect?
I understand the point of, where it's sort of coming from, but I don't like the point of where it's coming from in the first place. The point is, you can't love someone else if you don't love yourself.
Which really should be the sort of self-love.
Yeah.
But let's be clear. Scott didn't. His journey is not about him loving himself. It's about him realizing that he's an asshole. Which is funny because in the comic book, the sword that Scott gains is the sword of understanding. Literally named the sword of understanding because he realizes that he is very similar to Gideon. That he himself has done abusive things and that he himself is an asshole.
And he wants to change. He wants to understand Ramona better. And thus making it easier for us to see why he would end up with Ramona in the comic book.
But the movie decided to just say, I don't know.
I don't like that.
No, that means he has to change. Gamers don't want to change. Men don't want to change. That's a horrible moral. The lesson of the day is not change, not do anything about yourself or your personality, and you just stumble ass backwards.
I'll do agree.
Bass backwards.
Bass backwards.
Bass
That's
backwards.
my favorite NSYNC member.
Excuse me?
Lance Bass is
Okay. I thought it's my favorite fish in Animal Crossing, the bass awkward.
the bass awkward.
Okay, you gone over your negative. I've gone over my negative.
Yeah, I think we just need to
We just need to get.
review.
Hey guys.
We're not even done.
We're not even done. Do we recommend Scott Pilgrim versus the World?
No.
The answer, if you really want to see the visuals, I mean, we can't stop you. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, go for it.
But I came out of the movie not feeling very good.
We both came out feeling uncomfortable and a little gross.
Yeah. No, I was embarrassed because I'm the one who chose to watch that movie. I was like, let's watch Scott Pilgrim. I remember it being kind of okay. And it turned out that those 9 years have been really bad for that movie.
Yeah. I don't want to say I called it before, but I didn't like this movie when I first saw it.
So you didn't like it back
when it came out.
Back before it was cool.
Yeah, exactly. Also, someone's at the door.
All right, Kitty. Tell the view. This is the easiest recommendation because if you want the bombastic, ridiculous nature of Scott Pilgrim, you should just watch
Trigger anime, specifically like Kill la Kill or something like that.
or just fucking anime in general. See. The lesson of the day is just what. Okay.
Is this better than anime? No. So you should just go watch anime.
Okay, but let's be real though. A lot of the problems that are present in Scott Pilgrim versus the World are problems and themes that are ever present in male-centric media. This here, you can just apply the problems that we see here, the abusive nature of a main character, and the ways in which women are just basically used as cannon fodder for the men's plot. You can just literally apply this criticism to harem anime, to Rising of the Shield Hero, apart from the other grossness parts of that show.
And the fact that, like, you know, he's pursuing an underage girl, that's
which is the most fucking...
Proto 101 anime.
It's fucking the most... And still fucking gross, by the way.
It's true.
It's fucking gross.
Disgusting.
And I hate that there's so much wrong with this movie that we get away from the fact that, like, Knives' defining characteristic is that she is underage. And I don't know if we're doing footage of the fucking deck builder game.
I have no
we
idea.
might do it. But literally every character in the official card game for Scott Pilgrim has a character trait underneath their name, and Knife's fucking character trait is that she is 17 years old.
Let us never forget that.
Gross. A guy wrote this, and that's gross.
Yep.
Anyhow, hey guys.
Goodbye, Yanto. Oh.
Welcome back to another feel-good episode of Dango Duo.
Where we talk about the misogyny of this world and how shitty it is to be a woman.
Yeah.
Or queer.
Yeah.
Or colored skin.
I read so much about the original comic, trying to, do my research, and like,
Whew.
Oof. Hey, don't worry, okay? Listen, we have some horn den shoot in. Horn shoot in. What's the word I'm looking for, Kitty?
I don't fucking know.
We have some gay characters showing up at the last minute. Don't worry about it, okay? You know that character in the background?
He was gay.
He was gay all along. You learned that on page last. On page last. Hey guys. And maybe one of the girls kissed another girl. Don't worry about it. This is such fucking basic representation. It's okay.
Yeah.
Hey guys. The music's good though.
The music is good.
The music's good.
Yeah.
Kitty, is there anything else you want to say about in this 30-minute review?
I mean,
Want to just cut back to the faces of all of all the white men?
I mean, listen, this is,
What's even that actor's name? Because it's not Mark Zuckerberg.
It's not Mark Zuckerberg. I did look up Facebook. The Facebook movie.
Mark Zuckerberg actor.
Jesse Eisenberg. There he is.
See, okay, so that's what he looks like.
Now, Michael Cera.
Michael, he has a wife? Someone married him?
Someone married that?
I mean, I guess everybody may marry somebody.
Maybe.
And Napoleon Dynamite guy.
Which one is that one?
This is the fucking guy with his name...
Oh, John... Oh my god.
Okay, he looks different now, but I mean, like, here you go.
Yeah, that's all the same. That's all the same white guy.
Okay. Truth be fuck when I see them, they have the same hair. Truth be told, the guy who did Napoleon Dynamite has a different facial structure.
Yes.
And
he's aged better also.
And Jesse Eisenberg has like wider jawline, but going back and forth. Fuck. They're so close, and they're both wearing tuxedos.
Oh god, could be done.
Hey guys, if you want to support us, there's a fucking link to how you can treat us to a cup of coffee in the description down below.
And our Twitters and our Amazon and
Amazon wishlist. Hey guys, if you want to support this bullshit and you enjoyed us just flicking through pictures of white men going,
look exactly the same. Check out our Patreon also.
Patreon, do it at patreon.com/Dango Duo, where you can. If you like cross-eye, if you go cross-eye, it's the same. I wanted to do that website where like you put the celebrities and they make a baby together.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm like, it's the same.
It's gonna be the exact same.
What if they make the Napoleon Dynamite guy?
Oh god.
Hey guys, if you pledge to our Patreon, you can watch this bullshit early, and you can also get shoutouts like the following people:
Alexel Hoshi,
Amelia,
Angela,
Erasos,
Lier,
Luna,
and Sound.
Sound! Whoop 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 whoop.
whoop whoop whoop.
Okay, listen.
Bird.
Yeah, you make it okay. Don't ask where that hand was. Hey guys. I hope you all had fun laughing at the expense of Jesse Eisenberg and fucking
and Michael Cera being the exact same person.
The guy.
And then Napoleon Dynamite.
I don't even know what his name is.
John something it said.
John something or other, huh?
John Hader.
Hader. Oh, this image is way better. Oh, this image is way better because that's just Michael Cera with facial hair.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Hey guys. Thank you for dining along. Just got back to the image of Jesse Eisenberg wearing a tuxedo.
Oh my god, they're the same man, I swear.
At least we can laugh about this.
At least there's a joke in this movie that's funny, except it isn't in this movie. It's just a joke we made.
And isn't that the real meaning of
the friends we made along the way? The white guys we saw along the way that we mistook for other white guys. Okay. Alright, close it down. Shut it down. We're out of here.